Welcome to the XS Noize Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Millar, and in this episode, I'm joined by singer-songwriter Amy Macdonald. If you missed our last episode, I spoke with Cam Munsey from Jet about his debut solo album, so be sure to check it out. Since bursting onto the scene with This Is Your Life, Amy Macdonald has become one of Scotland's most beloved artists, selling over 12 million records worldwide and playing to millions across the globe. Now she's back with her sixth studio album, Is This What You've Been Waiting For? A bold, defiant and deeply personal collection that sees her embracing new sounds and fearless honesty. In this conversation, Amy opens up about her evolution as a songwriter, the stories and emotions behind her new songs, and what it feels like to still be connecting with new generations of fans. We also talk about her massive upcoming shows in Glasgow, her reflections on staying true to herself, and the moments that have defined her remarkable journey so far. So let's get into it. This is Amy Macdonald on the XS Noize Podcast. So let's go. So, hi, Amy. Welcome back to the XS Noize Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you back. You've had 5 UK top 10 albums, sold over 12 million records, and played to more than 5 million people. So, how does it feel to be releasing album 6? Is this what you've been waiting for at this stage in your journey?
It feels a little bit surreal. I think that if I had been asked right at the start of my career what I would be doing 18 years later, I'm not sure I would think that I was still doing this, but it's amazing. I can't quite believe that I'm now 6 albums in, and to have them all be top 5 in the UK or top 10, whatever it is. I'm really thrilled with that. It's such a difficult industry. It feels sometimes that you're being battered from pillar to post. So to still be doing my thing all this time later, I feel very grateful for the support that I've had, and really lucky that I'm still able to make music and go on tour.
Well, thinking back to Mr. Rock and Roll and This Is Your Life, how has your approach to songwriting evolved over the years?
I'm more collaborative now. I was very much it's mine, nobody else is allowed. When I was younger, so my first 3 albums, I'd done everything completely on my own, and I just thought that was the way that it had to be. But I've actually realised that it's way more enjoyable, like working with bandmates and things like that. It's a bit nerve-wracking at first when you write songs with other people for the first time, and it was a very strange experience for me, but I think doing it with my bandmates made it a little bit easier because I knew them, and I didn't feel as nervous in front of them. So it is a strange thing writing with people, but I have found that it's way more enjoyable. It's not just me sitting on my own in a room, it's working with others, it's travelling about, it's having great conversations and getting inspiration from that. So that's probably the major change. In terms of what I write about, I think that's exactly the same. I've always been somebody that just loves to watch the world go by and listen to stories and conversations and find things to write about and that. So that side of it's not changed. I'm just able to let more people in now.
One thing I've always loved about your music is how it connects emotionally without ever sounding forced. So when you're writing songs on this album, like Can You Hear Me or Forward, do you know right away if it's going to hit people, or does that only become clear later on?
I don't think you ever know because it's just so hard to predict what's going to connect and what isn't. But I mean, I think what I've always done is write songs that mean something to me, because I think that how can I expect them to mean something to everyone else if they don't mean anything to me? So that's why I always like having stories behind songs. It's probably why I'm not particularly prolific. I'm not writing songs every minute of every day, because I just need to feel like I've got something important to say and something worth saying, and that kind of inspiration isn't with you 24/7. But I hope that these songs connect with people. I think that just writing something that means something is the best that you can do, basically, and hopefully that connection happens with people that listen as well.
The album title track sets the tone. It's bold, urgent, and uplifting. What made that the right statement to build the album around?
Um, I'm not sure about the album then because it was actually one of the last things that was written.
All
Like I
right.
had most of the album. I think it's just when you have conversations with management, with everybody that's involved. I've always been somebody that loves to get everybody's opinion. I've never felt like I know what I'm doing. So the more people that can bash their heads together, the better. And I think everybody was basically of the consensus that that was a great title track and it was a great lead single. And I was happy to go along with that. There are times when you disagree, but I'm always kind of happier to take the general consensus rather than be somebody that says, no, we must do it my way. It's just not really who I am. But it's a song that I love. It's a song about performing live and about the excitement of performing live and the culmination of all the work that goes into it. And I think that's probably the perfect song to start the record, the perfect title for the record.
Yeah, the track was sparked by seeing the Sphere in Vegas. Can you talk about how that moment of awe sort of led to reflecting on your own journey in music?
Yeah, I was just blown away seeing the videos of U2 performing. I actually heard an interview as well with one of the art team that were responsible for all of the video content. And I just thought it was incredible, like the work that had went into this, but the end result was just a show that looked like something I've never seen before. And I just loved that live music was getting all this attention because sometimes people just, there's loads of gigs all the time and you can kind of forget that it can be such an incredible event, like a spectacle. And I just thought it was amazing that there was a venue like that that was just about making the live experience as incredible as possible. And I think like recently with worries about AI and things like that, as somebody in music, you do think about those things. And it kind of just made me think that it'll never be able to replace the live side of it because there's just so much human there's so much of a human touch and the live side of it that you couldn't ever replicate that. And I think that was quite comforting for me, just thinking that you need all the people there, you need the musicians, you need the lights, the set, you need all of that to work to have these amazing shows. And that was quite cool thinking like that, that side of it I think will always be fine.
Would you like to play there one day?
Gosh, I don't have any sort of presence in America, so I'll probably need to start getting on that pronto to be able to sell enough tickets to fill out there. But I mean, I could be a support act for somebody. I'd happily do that.
The album explores themes like survival, toxic relationships, and letting go of social expectations. Were these drawn from personal experiences or more from things that you've seen in others?
A bit of everything really. Like I've been through quite a lot in my years so far. I've had a bit of a crazy life with starting out this so young. So I've experienced quite a lot, and also like I'm a listener. I love listening to people's stories. I love when my friends have got stories to share, and sometimes that can be inspiring for me. I'm not sure they're always happy about that. That they probably can't trust that it's not going to get out there because I always like writing songs about stories. But I think a lot of the stuff is things that most people go through at certain points in their life. Like for all we focus on differences, we're all very, very similar and we all go through the same kind of highs and lows and emotions. Yes, it's easier for some than it is for others, but I think all of the emotional side of it, we're all very used to going through these events in our life. And it's probably things that most people can relate to at one point or another.
Was there a moment during the writing process of the album that you thought, right, this is something special, I'm onto something here?
No, I don't think so. I think the thing with the music industry is it does grind you down a little bit and it makes you question what is actually good and what isn't anymore. When I wrote my first album, I would get those feelings right away, like, oh, this is a great song, this is great. And then I continued to get them afterwards, and then you would feel a bit dumped because you never got any radio support or you never got any whatever. So people never got to hear it, and sometimes that can kind of grind you down a little bit. And now I'm just an old cynic. Now I just kind of start from the glass isn't half empty; it's kind of smashed into a million pieces on the floor. So I kind of think, expect absolutely nothing, and then that means that everything's a bonus.
Let's talk about Forward. That's one of my favourite tracks on the album. It's a real heartland rock feel, uplifting but grounded track. What was going through your head when you wrote it?
So it actually came from a conversation. I met up with my bandmate Tom, and he was going through a real tough time. And we were sat in a studio, and we'd been sat there for 3 hours, and we hadn't even thought about writing anything because he just needed a bit of a shoulder. And we were just chatting. And I think we chatted all the way up to lunchtime, just him talking about life, about his situation. Then we went out and got something to eat. And by this time, it's like 2 p.m. We'd done absolutely nothing. And it was just a case of, we may as well try and come up with something. It doesn't matter if we get nothing because you've had a hard day, a hard few weeks. And I think it was just thinking about his situation. He was thinking about his son. And at that point, my sister had recently had a baby, and we were just chatting about how strange it is that you have these little humans that you didn't know previously, and now they're in your life, and there's nothing you wouldn't do for them. And it's really strange. It's a really strange thing. So I think for a lot of people, they probably listen to Forward and think that it's about some sort of romance, but it was actually him thinking about his son and me thinking about my sister and her having just given birth, and how everything in her life had changed, but that she wouldn't change any of it no matter how hard it was. So it's just another song about life and about the changes, and sometimes feeling like you just have to keep going, just one foot in front of the other, just keep going. It might be hard, but just you'll get there eventually.
And there's a bit of a Springsteen vibe to that song, isn't there?
Totally unintentionally, actually. Like it's not until it's came out, and I've had a few people say, "Oh, it's got a real Born to Run vibe to it," and I was like, "Really?" And then when I listened back, I was like, "Oh yeah, I can see now where that's come from." But I think sometimes you're totally in a bubble, and you don't even think about these things, and suddenly people are like, "Oh, it's got a Born to Run feel to it," and that's only a good thing, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Can You Hear Me? It has a fresh sound, almost disco tinged. You've said that the song was inspired by your performance at Transmit, looking at a younger generation that didn't grow up with your early music. Can you take me back to that moment and how it shaped the song?
Yeah, basically I was performing at Transmit, and I kind of peeked out beforehand to have a look at the crowd, and then had a massive panic because the crowd were so young, and I thought, oh gosh, they're not going to know any of my songs. This is going to be really difficult. And I couldn't have been more wrong. It was probably one of the best gigs that I'd ever done. I loved every minute of it. They were an amazing crowd, and I just felt like I had such a connection with them. And I just was thinking at that point of everything that the younger generations were facing. They'd had all of the nonsense through the pandemic, and then just the way that it is now, that a lot of younger people feel like they're just kind of smashing their head against a wall. Like they don't feel like they'll ever own a home. They feel like the system is kind of rigged against them. And I just thought that to be the generation that is faced with all of that, but to still be so happy, hopeful, energetic, full of life there without a care in the world, it was really, really inspiring to me. And I just loved it. And I just felt like I wanted to write like an anthem for these amazing young people, and just give them something back, because they had completely made my day and probably my year at that point. And yeah, so it was just basically a song for all the young generation, and hopefully something they can sing and relate to.
But how does it feel, winning over new fans this far into your career, especially younger audiences, and, they're connecting with what you do?
It's amazing. I feel very lucky that I've got that. Like when I do gigs, there can be the biggest mixture of people. Like I've had little 5-year-old kids up on stage with me before, and they're there with their 70-year-old grandparents, and then there's everybody in between. And I absolutely love that. I think that for me, it's such an amazing privilege to feel that my songs connect to so many different people. And I'm so, so grateful for that. And like, as you kind of get older and you're suddenly like an old hand in the music industry, like I'm close to 20 years now, it does become harder to connect. You don't get the same opportunity that you did when you were younger. You don't get the same kind of push that you would as a new artist. So it is hard. So for me, still being able to do that and win over and bring new, younger audiences to my music is amazing, because it's not an easy thing to do. And I'm very grateful to social media for that. I think that's probably given me quite a hand there.
You recently covered Oasis Live Forever, talking about, people knowing your songs, but you did this, a bold one to take on, actually. What drew you to it and how did you make it your own? Because I thought it was a brilliant version. I seen it on Instagram.
Oh, thank you. Actually, I was asked to specifically do an Oasis cover. As you know, it's the year of Oasis. So I was doing a radio session and they asked if we could do an Oasis cover specifically. So I think Live Forever is a great song. I love to sing it. I'd sang it previously, like before I'd started out, I used to do like open mic nights and things like that, and I would always do a bunch of Oasis songs, and Live Forever was one of them. So I'd said to my guitarist, like, let's do Live Forever, and we decided to give it a kind of 2025 country-esque vibe, just because country's so popular right now. So it's got like that little kind of country kick to it, but it's still Oasis. But it's Oasis are one of those bands that they've got a lot of fans that are very precious. So you do get some people that get annoyed at you for covering it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. As I said, it's a brilliant version. Were Oasis a big part of your musical upbringing?
Not so much when I was young. I was a little bit too young when they were first out, when it was all the kind of battle of Blur and Oasis and all of that. But when I got into like my teenage years is when I really started like getting into music and going back the way and discovering albums that I'd missed when I was young. So I definitely listened to Oasis quite a lot. I loved Oasis. I loved Ocean Colour Scene. And then like it was like Scottish band Travis that kind of got me started. So I did love all of that world, and it's always been music that I've been drawn to.
You says Travis got you started. What happened there? What inspired you from them?
I actually heard Why Does It Always Rain on Me on the radio and instantly loved it and was like, I need to know what this is. And obviously back then we didn't have the internet or anything like that. So I just had to wait on tenterhooks for the end of the song for the DJ to say what it was. And then I heard it was Travis, and we were on a family holiday in Rothie in the Isle of Bute, and my nana had given myself and my cousins some money to spend in Woolworths, and they all went mad buying sweets, and I went straight to the music and I bought the Man Who album and just absolutely loved it, listened to nothing else, and then decided that I needed to learn to play guitar so that I could play along with these songs. And that's how it all started for me, basically. My dad had a guitar. He didn't play it regularly, but it was in the house, and I got that and started to teach myself how to play along. To Turn was the first one. So that was the start of it all.
No, it's a great album. And getting into Woolworths. Do you remember those days? Great days, getting in actually buying records.
I know,
CDs.
it was so good. I miss it. Like I used to at Christmas I would get money, and you would go into, it was HMV I think, and they had you could get like 3 albums for £10, like all the classic albums. So I remember buying like all the David Bowie albums and stuff. And then you could get like 3 DVDs for £20 as well. And it was just, I was like a kid in a sweet shop.
You've been doing some festival dates and you're going to be continuing doing that. And then you've your own tour coming up. You played the Millions. Now you're about to perform 2 nights, 2 sold-out nights at the Hydro in Glasgow. So how does it feel to be getting that kind of response in your hometown?
1 sold out so far. Hopefully 2 sold out by the time
well,
we get
of course
there.
it will.
Yeah, it's something that completely blows me away. Like, I'm always very reluctant to sign up to do gigs in very, very large venues because I just worry about it. I worry about selling tickets, but I've been so lucky that I've had such great support and people still want to come out and see these shows. And it's something that I'll never ever take for granted. There's something quite special about playing in your home city. No matter how many times I've done it, I always get way more nervous when it's my home city, my home crowd. And I think it's just because you want to show them how much they mean to you. You want to show them that you're very thankful for all the support you've had. And sometimes that weighs heavy on your shoulders a little bit. So I need to psych myself up and not get too nervous. But yeah, I'm just so blown away to have 2 nights at the Hydro after flipping 18 years of this is amazing. I never expected to be going this long, so it's incredible, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, as I said, you're also playing festivals. You played the Isle of Wight last week, and I'd seen the video on Instagram. Maybe you played to thousands and thousands of people. How do you approach those big summer shows differently from your own headline sets?
It's more difficult because it's not necessarily your own fans. I definitely had a lot of fans there. There were a lot of people that were singing along to everything, which was lovely. But there's also people that are just there as festival goers. And sometimes you feel like you've really got to go out there and win them over. And I do actually quite like that because I think some people aren't really aware of me that much and they don't really expect much. And it's a great feeling when they go away having had a great time and going, oh, that was actually good. I actually spoke to the festival organizer, John Giddings, when I was there. And he'd said that he basically watched me at Transmit and just loved it and was like, we need to get her here. And again, at Transmit, I felt like I was winning people over, but I had that great crowd. And afterwards, he just said that he absolutely loved it. He loved the show so much. So for me, it's just a real buzz that people are still kind of getting introduced to me all this time later and really, really enjoying it. But yeah, you have to make sure your set list is smash, bang, smash, bang. Basically, you can't have any dull moments when you're on that big stage. You need to keep everybody's attention.
You've said, honestly, I'm just winging it all the time. Now, that honesty is stuck with people. Do you think there's actually a kind of strength in that, in showing up and being yourself rather than trying to perfect everything?
Yeah, definitely. I think because I'm just being myself. Most of the time, I just panic about, oh, am I doing the right thing? What am I doing? Where am I meant to be? All of that. And I think that's probably true of most people. And I think for a lot of people, it's probably quite refreshing to know that people up on the stage singing are the exact same and they're feeling the exact same. I think sometimes in music, people want to create these personas and they're polished and they're wonderful life. And I just don't think that that's true of most people. And I think that it's easier to relate to people when you're just honest and you're just yourself. And that's who I would always be. Like, I wouldn't ever want to pretend that I was something I wasn't. So I'm happy to just be honest and say that most of the time I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping for the best.
I think everybody's just winging it, aren't they? Like,
They totally are. That's the thing. Like, people pretend they know what they're doing, but none of us actually do.
no, definitely not. For someone new to your music, and there seems to be a lot of people coming on board from the festivals, what 5 songs should they start with to really understand your music as an artist?
Oh wow. Probably start at the beginning. Probably start with Mr. Rock and Roll. Just that was like my first kind of real single, and that was what introduced me to people. Obviously got to have This Is the Life in there. That's the one that just seems to have connected with everyone and anyone. I'd also have Slow It Down in there. That was a single from my third album. Constantly seems to go viral on TikTok in Poland for some reason. Like, they love that one over there. But it's a good sing along one. It's one that I really enjoy playing live. I would say Can You Hear Me off this album. It's probably one of the favourites that I've ever written for me personally. I just absolutely love it. Um, I, I just think the sentiment behind it's great, and I just think it's got a really fresh and interesting sound to it. And then I would probably go for a track called What Happiness Means to Me. I think that was album three, but I'm not quite sure. It might have been four. And it's basically a kind of lovely piano ballad, which is unusual for me, but it kind of culminates in this big, bold kind of instrumental at the end. And I've always loved performing that live. And I think that it just showcases everything that you can do.
We're going to do a quick fire round. We'll go through each of your albums and you tell me the first memory, feeling, or moment that comes into it. Is that okay?
Yeah, no problem.
We'll start off
Can
with.
Can you hear a dog barking?
I thought it was interference.
He'll shut up in a minute. Like there's just somebody at the door. Like he'll be quiet in 1 second. Right, that should be him.
It's probably Amazon. That happens to me all the time when I'm doing these.
It's DHL. I can see them.
Happens to me all the time. Okay, well, we'll start with This Is Your Life. What comes into your head?
I just laugh sometimes when I think about that song, just because it's had this crazy life. Like it is connected with people all over the world for the past near 20 years, and it still seems to be connecting. So yeah, it's one of those songs that like it means so much to me, and I'm so proud of it. But it doesn't actually feel like my song anymore. It just feels like this thing that I sing, and that it belongs to everybody else.
And what about the album, the rest of the album? You had Mr. Rock and Roll on there as well.
Yeah, I just look back and I think, gosh, I was so young, and I actually can't believe that I managed to get through all that at such a young age. I was 19 when that album came out. I was only 18 when I signed a record contract and recorded it. And at that point, I thought I knew everything. And looking back, I knew absolutely nothing. And I can't believe that I kind of got through all of that unscathed and still doing what I'm doing now. So I think just really proud of myself.
2010's A Curious Thing.
I remember feeling like quite rushed because I'd had my entire life to write the first album. It's the cliche that everybody says.
I think I'll second the album.
Yeah, I had this insane pressure on my head. I'd done so well with This Is Life. I'd basically had like 2.5 solid years of traveling constantly, promo gigs. And then it was like, right, where's album 2? And I just remember feeling like really strange that I had to sit down and make myself write songs, and it felt quite unnatural and strange. And I actually still look back now and think, how did I do that? How did I come up with enough songs to make that work? So I look back and I think that if I had more time, I could probably have done better. I think that I actually would have been better that album 3 was album 2, but what can you do? You've just got to kind of go with it.
Yeah, well, album 3, Life in a Beautiful Light, it's a more uplifting and polished sound.
Yeah, I had a bit more time, and I wrote the song Slow It Down, and that was probably the last time that I wrote a song and went, this is good. Like, because that side of it's just left me now, because I just can't tell you anymore, because you don't know what will be successful and what won't. But I remember being so pleased with Slow It Down, thinking, oh, what a great track that is. And I think I was right, because that's another one that still seems to connect with people and young people now, even like 13 years after it came out. So yeah, I was definitely more pleased with album 3, and that felt like I was more into the swing of it now. Like I didn't have to think about writing the songs as much.
Under the Stars, it's more introspective, sort of, and layered production.
Yeah, so that's the first time I'd written songs with other people. I wrote some songs with my bass player Jimmy and a friend of ours, Ben, and I had such an amazing time writing the songs. We had so many laughs, and it was probably the best fun that I'd ever had writing, because it was the first time I wasn't on my own. It was quite a stressful time at that point, because I had like changes in management and the production contract that I was on and everything. So there was a lot of stuff going on in the background. It was very, very difficult for me. So trying to kind of keep a straight face and pretend that everything's fine when it was really, really not fine was quite hard. But I think that the album that I got at that point was really great. And it was the first time that I'd worked with a different producer as well. So it was all completely new to me. So it kind of felt like it was back to the start again, just being this trapped kind of deer in a headlight that didn't really know what was going on.
And my favourite, The Human Demands. Now, it's actually hard to believe it was released 5 years ago. It doesn't seem that way. What do you remember about it?
Yeah, I think because all the pandemic and the cancellations and all that has made that time go way quicker. It's funny because I do look back on making that album and absolutely loved it. Like in the studio, I worked with Jim Abbas and some incredible musicians, and we had such a laugh. Like it was probably the most enjoyable time I've ever had making an album. And it was just so strange because it was cut in the middle from when we had to go into lockdown. And then when we were able to finish it, there were still no hotels or nothing open. So Jim and I actually just stayed in the recording studio, which was the weirdest experience of my life. Like I was sleeping in a single bed above the studio to get this album made. So I think when I look back on that album, I just think of all the memories that I have of the actual making the record process because they're just crazy. But I do love that album, like songs like The Hudson and Statues, Bridges. I just really, really love them. And with that album, I got I got more radio support again, like radio support that I hadn't had in flipping 5, 10 years. So it was just so nice. Like big stations in Scotland all were kind of supporting me again, and it kind of felt like I'd come full circle. So I've got a lot of happy memories of that record.
No, I remember you did a live performance. Do you remember the pay-per-view live performances everyone was
Yes.
doing then?
Yeah, we done it in like a kind of social, a working man's and women's social club. And it was great. I felt like I was in Phoenix Nights. We kind of put all of the kind of fancy kind of banners up and all of that and made it look as nice as we could. And yeah, we raised a lot of money for a lot of the kind of the charities that had sprung up to help crew and musicians. So for me, it was great that we were able to at least do that. But when I look back now on that time, I can't believe what everybody went through and everything that happened. It just seems like a lifetime ago.
What would you like this next chapter of your career to stand for?
Just perseverance, basically, just showing that you just keep persevering and you keep going, and it's kind of great. I think previously I've just worried so much about everything and just always felt like, oh, if you've not got this and that, then it's a failure. But I feel like I'm more now just doing it for the enjoyment of it. Like I think you start to switch off about all of the other side of it, and I think sometimes you can take it too seriously. I think that being able to get out and playing gigs and having new songs is always really exciting for me and for the people that come along. So I think just focusing on that side of it and trying not to worry too much about everything else and starting to just enjoy it for what it is, basically.
If you were to give me a song or an album that brings back the best memories for you.
So it'll actually be the album Through the Window Pane by a band called the Guillemots, because that is what I was listening to when I was making my first album. And to me, it was so surreal that I was in a recording studio in London and these songs that I'd written in my bedroom were getting made to put on a physical album. And I couldn't quite believe it. And I just remember at times walking and driving through like kind of London as the sun was setting in the summer and just hearing these songs in my earphones or in the car and just feeling like everything was great and everything was exciting. And some of the songs on that album are so beautiful with just incredible production and instrumentation that it just kind of it just brings together that whole point that at any time I hear these songs, I just think about that point in my life.
I don't know that album. I must check that out.
Oh yeah, it's really worth a listen. There's a brilliant song on it called Trains to Brazil, which to this day I can't believe that it wasn't a massive smash because it's just a wonderful song. But there's also loads of really unique different things on there, and it's just a great record.
Definitely have to check it out. Finally, Amy, if you could go back and relive one musical moment from your career so far, what would it be?
Um, I'd go back to, I think, 2010 when I had been asked if I would go on stage with Neil Diamond at the Roundhouse, and it happened at such a busy, busy time for me that I was not able to appreciate how incredible that was. Now, I knew at the time, like, Neil Diamond was always a legend, but I just think as you get older, you don't quite fathom how amazing these opportunities are. And you look back and you realize that when you were younger, sorry, you didn't quite fathom it. So I'd love to go back to that moment and just be like, I'm on stage here with Neil Diamond and we're just chatting and now he wants me to sing his song. I think that going back to that would be nice to witness that as not a super young, naive idiot.
What song was it you sang with him?
Shiloh.
Hmm.
Yeah. It was a brilliant experience. I've had so many moments like that where it's like pinch me, but I do wish that I'd been slightly older when I'd witnessed them because I think when you're young, you just go with the flow and you don't realize how amazing it is.
But are you doing that now? Are you living in the moment when you're on stage and going through life now?
Oh yeah, totally. Like I love doing all the live side. I love it more because I love just chatting with the audience. That's my favorite thing to do, actually. I think I'm probably lost as a musician. I feel like I should have been like a stand-up comedian instead, but I need more jokes.
Well, Amy, that's me done. It's been a real pleasure. I really, really enjoyed the album. Good luck with the album. Good luck with the tour and the festival shows and the massive Glasgow shows coming up.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Well, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers. Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.